The sleeper will awaken. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future.
Have you ever thought
I didn't
about
come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there. Where we go from there. Where we go from there. It's a choice I leave to you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Please sit down. Pirate radio stations. Good, 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 good. Now, I have told the Prime Minister that we will shut them down within 12 months.
As you will see, sir, they're not, in fact, outside of the law at the moment, sir.
They soon will be, won't they, Mr. Fredericks? You see, that's the whole point of being the government. If you don't like something, you simply make up a new law that makes it illegal. Point of being the government. If you don't like something, you simply make up a new law that makes it illegal. Point of being the government. If you don't like something, you simply make up a new law that makes it illegal.
If we are to survive, a new balance must be found. In normal times, evil would be fought by good. But in times like these, well, it should be fought by another kind of evil.
Free Canada and Video Radio, where we cover some of the stories that mainstream is ignoring. Today, we're going to be covering things about controversial subjects, marijuana, back up in there again. We've got some really cool analysis about that. We're also going to be talking about propaganda and some of the lies that are being told right now that are not being covered. And we're going to be covering some world events around Syria and some of the nonsense going on with the currency wars. But to start things off, let's talk about the environment and the fact that 800,000 people, just like me and you, got together on a couple of weekends ago to send a clear message to the leaders in France at COP21. But that wasn't without its detractors. Let's run some propaganda and talk about how some climate change deniers are getting their butts handed to them. Check this out. It's Radio Free. Thanks for coming along.
The magnitude of the number of individuals who are reliant on solid fuel for cooking was increasing, and now we have over 4 million people every year who die from exposure to cook stove smoke.
Living in a city like New York, there's energy everywhere. For half the planet, finding energy is incredibly difficult. Primarily, we focus our work on the 3 billion people around the world who live in energy poverty without access to clean fuels or stoves. BioLite uses advanced technologies that use forced air that gets pushed into the fire in a way that essentially reburns the smoke particles within the fire. Through the Global Alliance and support from Shell, we've been able to refine the model by which we bring products to our end customers.
I always love it when it starts out like that, a little bit of propaganda. It almost sounds like Shell's working for you. Do your research, okay? Sure, they're throwing a little bit of money at the problem right now, but in the 1960s, Shell was researching a carburetor that gave us 200 miles to the gallon with a 5,000-pound car. Yeah, they may be researching it, but you know where that information goes. Down the pipe it goes. Do your own research on that. gas holes. Awesome show to watch on that one. But research the 200 mile per gallon, 5,000 pound car solution that Shell has been suppressing since the 1960s. Of course, climate change deniers are major in the news right now. They're trying to muddy things up. And the good people at Eco-Justice right now are taking climate change deniers to court. This is one of the most awesome things that ever happened. Remember, Al Capone got his butt busted by a bunch of accountant lawyers. So maybe Shell is going to get busted by a bunch of lawyers for their climate change denial crap. Of course, we're going to be covering that story. And for those of you guys who want the actual backup, the actual science, we are urging you to watch Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is an awesome series. There's several really good scientific examples. But if you don't have time, let's spend a couple minutes and talk to a real, or listen to a real PhD from NASA. This is cool.
Imagine you step in an elevator and someone asks, what's up with human activity and global warming?
Well, the first thing about climate warming is that the physical basis, we've known it for centuries. This is nothing new in the science of climate change today. You bring more CO2, more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, it warms it up. It's undisputable. It's very solid physics. The science is looking at the impact of that on the climate, the impact on humans, the impact on sea level, the impact on precipitation. It's going to be the impact on food production. It's going to be the impact on where people live. Pretty serious impacts. It's going to be impact on biodiversity, which in my opinion is even bigger than sea level rise, right? The decay of species. In the end, what we're saying, what most of the science is saying, is these changes are occurring very fast. We're on a very fast train heading for the wall. And that's not good. So we have to change the way we live. And I often say it's common sense. Right? We didn't leave the Stone Age because we ran out of stone. We have to leave the oil age because burning oil is not good for the climate. It's not good for us. But it's a huge shift in our society. It's a huge shift in the way we live. It's not going to take a few scientists raising the red flag to make this happen. It has to be a big social movement where everybody says, hey, we want to stop this. And my only hope right now that this is going to happen is the new generation, the young people from 20 to 30, because I think they're more sensitive to this. They don't want this kind of world down the line. And they probably are the first generation who can actually change it. They have the power to change it. I hope we take it. I hope we take it.
So there you got it, the straight scoop right here. NASA, PhDs. We've got PhDs right across the board telling us climate change is real. We're causing it. Sorry, that's the way that it goes. So at Radio Free Canada on Facebook and on our email, we are not entertaining climate change deniers or people from the oil industry protecting their profits. We have to save the planet. We have to win this one now. It's time for this humanity to stand up for itself and to start understanding that it's environmental and human self-defense that we're at a point of. We are not at a point of debate anymore. Join us at Positive Action U. We're going to be talking about it. Marijuana is back in the debate too. We're wasting huge amounts of money still prosecuting it when we're going to be legalizing it. It's as simple as that. But down in the United States, they're fanatics and creepy and weird. We're going to be talking about how much Donald Trump sucks in just a bit. And that's just a tip of the American psycho iceberg, okay? But right on Russia Today, okay, we're going to let the evidence speak for itself, and the marijuana debate and some facts that mainstream media just don't talk about. Check this out.
Last week, a Montana man was arrested for having a 1/16 of an ounce of pot on him, barely enough to roll a joint. And Montana is generally considered a fairly conservative state. So this guy's facing drug possession charges, but his case never went to trial. The reason why is amazing. The judge in the case could not seat a jury willing to convict the man. In pretrial interviews, This is before people knew who he was, what the crime was, how much pot he had, anything. One potential juror after another, one after another, said they would not be willing to find someone guilty for only having a few buds of marijuana in their possession. Eventually, because he couldn't find jurors, the judge was forced to call a recess, acknowledging there was no way he could put together a fair jury. During that recess, a plea deal was worked out, and the man essentially got off without admitting any guilt. The judge in this case, Dusty Deschamps, claimed that in his 30 years on the bench, 30 years on the bench, he'd never seen anything like it. I say, let's hope we continue to see more of the same. Every year, at least 50,000 people die in our country due to alcohol. 50,000. In the history of our nation, and even the 200 years before we officially became the United States of America, a nation, you know how many people died from a dose of marijuana, or an overdose, or a massive dose? 0. 500 years on this continent, not a single person, and tens of thousands of years before that, Native Americans. Nobody has ever died from pot. We have this bizarre double standard in our country that we have legalized and even embraced to a certain extent the use of alcohol, but we vilify pot and its users. It makes no sense. Alcohol causes long-term dementia. It corrodes your liver, and it can cause death when overdosed. Pot does none of those things. It may affect your short-term memory, but only while you're high. I mean, both drugs produce a mild intoxication, and marijuana's side effects pale in comparison to alcohol. So if any of these two drugs should be illegal, which should it be? Not to mention the enormous medical benefits of pot. Benefits that 15 states and Washington, D.C. have now recognized by legalizing medical marijuana. The only people pot has killed are those who've been locked up for its possession and had their lives forever altered because of it.
Okay, there you got it. It's just simple. You know, you can check out Phil Hartman on Russia Today. Very common sense guy. Okay, but don't take his word for it. Do your research. Don't take my word for it, okay? Because it don't make no difference unless you figure it out yourself, and we know you're intelligent. We can count on you because you're part of the general public. Is that weird to say? Whatever, it's true. Okay. Propaganda is out there everywhere, and we're kind of talking about the truth here today. So let's talk about something I never talk about. Some of the celebrities in mainstream. They're actually waking up. There's an emotion revolution going on, and I want you to check this out. Here's a clip from Lady Gaga, of all people. I know I don't cover it, but you know what? What she's got to say is for real. Let's check it out.
I have had to make decisions like, why am I unhappy? Okay, Stephanie Gaga hybrid person, why are you unhappy? Why is it that you want to quit music a couple years ago? I was like, well, I really don't like selling these, fragrances, perfumes. I don't like wasting my time spending days just shaking people's hands and smiling and taking selfies. It feels shallow to my existence. I have a lot more to offer than my image. I don't like being used to make people money. I feel sad when I'm overworked and that I've just become a money-making machine and that my passion and my creativity take a back seat. That makes me unhappy. So what did I do? I started to say, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. I'm not taking that picture. I'm not going to that event. I'm not standing by that because that's not what I stand for. And slowly but surely, I remembered who I am. And then you go home and you look in the mirror and you're like, yes, I can go to bed with you every night. Because that person, I know that person. That person has balls. That person has integrity. That person has an opinion. That person doesn't say yes. That person doesn't get a text from somebody and say, oh my God, they wrote this and they sent this emoji. Should I write this back? What do you think? Is that okay to say? Are they going to like me if I say that? Should I say something different? This is the age that we live in. We're not actually communicating with each other. We are unconsciously communicating lies.
Okay, some facts of the matter is we do tell a lot of politically correct lies. Politically correct is just fascism with a nice turn of phrase. We got to wake up, and positive people do not mean, being positive does not mean that you're politically correct, okay? Being positive means that you carry through right to the end on what works and what is morally correct, not what's politically correct, because that's usually going to get you in trouble and get you trying to be popular with everyone. Why the heck try to be popular with everyone? No matter what you say, you're going to cheese someone off, so you might as well say it, right? Okay. But they do want us talking about this. Right now, Ted Cruz is getting lined up in the Republican Party of the United States as the next presidential candidate. Why? Because Donald Trump sucks. Warning, a little bit of adult language going on, but hey, we're all adults here. We can handle it. And the mayor of Philadelphia just said it straight out. What did he say?
He's an asshole. I mean, what do you, I apologize, Reverends. People in the religious community, I apologize. How can I take seriously any foreign policy idea from someone like him? I mean, it's impossible. So he has no idea what he's talking about. What we're finding is that no group is safe from his ignorance and rhetoric as he increasingly tries to target a message narrowly crafted, politically driven, and devised to speak to a very narrow cast audience for his own purposes that have nothing to do, in my view, with actually trying to be president of the most powerful nation on the planet.
Okay, some real simple things right here. Donald Trump has lost credibility right across the world. On our SoundCloud radio, we talked about a bunch of things. And the fact is that he had his own rally a couple of weeks ago, which was interrupted about a dozen times by protesters standing against what Donald Trump is slogging. But the entire world realizes that the American government, Republican-controlled, has no credibility. It starts with 9/11, but it definitely continues with the racism, the outright racism that Donald Trump represents and is popular with the Republican Party. They've lost total credibility. Donald Trump is losing credibility by the minute, exponentially so. And it's good, because just like Stephen Harper and the conservatives, racism does not have a place in the future society. We need to stand up against this. And of course, the world is standing up against it. Apparently, Donald Trump is getting banned, taken out of retail stores. He's also been told, don't even bother visiting Muslim countries. And by the way, your real estate investments in hotels you're building in Muslim countries aren't gonna do that good, buddy. Too bad about your luck. So glad that racism is dying. Russia Today. This is the video of 7,000 oil trucks that are taking oil right now out of Syria. Sure, they don't have a lot of pipelines that are running over there, but all of this oil is disappearing, and they know where it's going. Russia Today is talking about it, and not only does Mr. Putin bomb the crap out of ISIS, and of course accidentally destroy some CIA assets that are supplying ISIS, but that would be a war on terrorism that was effective. Apparently in a 2 weeks, the Russians bombed ISIS right into oblivion, running like little girls out of Syria right now, something that 18 months of Pentagon bombing could not do with their coalition. Right now the propaganda is that Saudi Arabia is arranging for a coalition to fight terrorism. May be difficult since they're the ones who are financing it from 9/11 all the way up to us. But that's just the way that the media goes. Okay, take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Our excessive dependence on foreign oil is a clear and present danger.
And here we have a serious problem. America is addicted to oil.
For more than 30 years, we've been hearing that this is a problem. Why hasn't something been done?
The amount of petroleum products that are consumed is so enormous, it's hard to even comprehend.
And many have long thought that oil companies have bought up patents to allow them to continue to make more money. No one's proven it.
You don't think for a minute that they let one man change the way they do business with gasoline, do you? This man told me, he says, I'll give you 6 months and you're a dead man.
Well, the technology is there, and we could use it in the marketplace. There's no will to do so.
Our people have a growing suspicion that the oil companies are taking unfair advantage of the current market conditions to line their coffers with excess profits.
The price is set on the world market by willing buyers and sellers as to what willing sellers are willing to sell it for and willing buyers are willing to pay for it.
So I think the public had an awakening. What you're paying for gasoline isn't what it costs to make it.
Are you telling the committee today that had we not had the hurricanes, that your profits would be even higher?
What I'm struck with is how almost compliant the national consumer has been.
When prices are low, no one really cares.
I'm a Hummer driver and it runs on biodiesel. I didn't make any conversion.
Why isn't this moving forward? And everybody kept telling me,
who owns the pumps?
Record-breaking profits. I gather that all of you are in favor of alternative sources of fuels.
So this is why we do what we do, to feel good. It's Positive Action United, and this is the way that we change things. Okay? Activism is winning, and the more that we talk about logic, the more that we move with our feet in the streets, the more that we call up the radio talk shows, and the more that we talk to the reporters and the news services and demand positive information, the more we'll get it. And right now, even though Post Media gave themselves a really nice new shiny award along with Peter Mansbridge, they're getting their butts handed to them, because if you follow the Vancouver Observer, you see mainstream news is failing. Government propaganda through mainstream news is guaranteed that they're losing money by the billions, while more and more people, just like me and you, tune into the internet and talk to each other about what's important. That's what we're doing. I'm so happy to have you along. This is Radio Free Canada and Video Radio for December of 2016. Make sure you stay tuned. Tune in to Positive Action U at Positive Action U on Twitter. On SoundCloud, find me through Darren Howard or Tash Tago. Radio Free Canada is on Facebook and YouTube. And we would like to thank you for 100,000 views on YouTube talking about truth and freedom. We're going to be back with more talking about the year in review, and we've got some excellent shows and documentaries lined up. Thanks for tuning in. I am Darren Howard. This is Radio Free Canada.